Hi, Carol.
Hi, Catherine. How are you? Looking very lovely today.
Thank you. It is the Chinese New Year, and I'm
Ah,
wearing red because
well,
it's the auspicious color for Chinese New Year.
it is. And as I always say, I like to celebrate everything just to hedge my bets. I believe what I believe, but I could be wrong. So it's good to sort of have those hedges in place.
There you go. Exactly. And I'll celebrate anybody's holiday. I'm just kind of a
Right.
holiday girl.
We need more festivity and less outrage in our lives. So I'm with you on that.
Yes, thank you. All right. So today I want to talk to you about info products.
Okay.
Info products being the holy grail of recurring revenue and making money.
Passive. They're passive, Catherine.
Okay. Carol Roth is rarely passive, so I think that we're going to leave that one alone. But yeah, it's supposed to be, you make it and then you set it and forget it, and you're waking up to PayPal pings or whatever your processor is. Now, I know that you have launched a info product that's not your typical info product. It's pretty in depth and well researched and took you an awful lot of time. But can we talk about the creation process, why you created it, what you went through, what some of the stumbling blocks were?
Sure. So I'll compare it and contrast it even because I feel like I sort of have two different products between the book that I created and then the current product, Future File. And those were very different experiences. When I did the book, The Entrepreneur Equation, I never intended to have an info product. I was just angry and vomited 80,000 words onto a piece of paper and said, oh, what should I do with this? And, okay, it's going to be a book. And I spent a year and a half working with the amazing Elizabeth Marshall on a marketing plan.
Yes.
And it's one of those things that people don't realize, oh, how is your book so successful? And it's like, I devoted a year and a half to the marketing, not the writing, to the marketing of the book before it launched. So that was a big to-do. And, obviously that had some good success, but it was a very focused marketing effort and certainly wasn't passive. I did not change my lifestyle in any way, shape, or form from having that, but it did give me that nice, like, hey, you're an author, and so now you can charge more for speeches or, whatever else.
Okay, wait. Let me stop you for 1 second, because a lot of people are saying they're best-selling authors for 5 minutes on Amazon where they do a screenshot. We're not talking about that with you. We're talking New York Times best-selling author, Wall Street Journal, USA Today.
Yep.
We're talking the big leagues. So if anybody's confused, it's not that.
Yes. And there was a lot that went into being able to do that and a lot of marketing dollars behind that. And so you would look at that and say, okay, well, the return on investment there, must have been game changing. And the reality is it wasn't. I certainly made more than I spent over time, but not initially. There's a lot of between PR firms. I did my promotion with my action figure, which if you haven't seen it, bring her, trot her out, so if you bought enough of the books, you got an action figure, trading off speaking engagements. So there were a lot of things that went in to creating that incredible success. So I think that we have to be kind of clear about that. But that was a very different experience than what I did with Future File, which was a product that came out of personal experience. For those that don't know the story, I've had a lot of people pass away, a mom, stepmom, and my father was actually the brainchild of this. He created this amazing kit that had all of his wishes and information if God forbid anything were to happen to him. And unfortunately, something happened to him in 2013, and we had to use the kit to make decisions at the hospital, to end up pulling the plug on him, to lay his body to rest, to wrap up his personal affairs. And because it saved us so much grief, so much time, so much money, and it kept my sister and I allies instead of adversaries during this process, right, we got lots of feedback from people saying that they wanted to, they wanted the product as well. And so that's what just made us have that decision on productizing it. Now, the good news and the bad news here is that, and you'll know this very well, Catherine, not everybody may know this, but I'm incredibly type A, which is not necessarily great for creating info products, because it doesn't mean that I want to put the first version out and kind of get feedback, and then it needs to be at a certain standard. So that was my own handicap going in. I was fully aware of that. So I went into it eyes wide open, but at least didn't have the delusion that it was like, hey, I'm going to put it out and overnight it was going to be tremendously successful. I have enough sense to take my own advice. But it was really challenging for us because it was a product that didn't exist, so we didn't have a model for it. And it was a product that spoke to two different users. You have to speak to the person who is organizing their wishes and information. And then on the other side of things, you have to speak to the person who's going to use it in an emergency or if somebody passes away. And those are two different conversations. So having one piece of one product be able to do both of those things was difficult. And then we had the form factor. We had, do we do this analog in a kit? Do we do this via software? Do we do it software in the cloud? And we went through lots and lots of testing over lots of years, and first launched the kit version because that was easier to control, and then launched the desktop software because people said that they didn't want to put their information in the cloud. And that was a really difficult process for me because on the analog version, it was tedious, but I can control it. And my team and I, even though it was a nightmare to proofread that thing 900 times and, still ended up with mistakes and whatnot, we could control that. Software, we do not know how to code. I took C++ in college, but I was not going to get in there and learn to code. Now, in retrospect, it probably would have been faster for me to learn to code and do it myself, but that's not a good use of my overall time. So we didn't do that, and that was a big challenge, in terms of getting the product done. But it was a mission for us. It was a love letter to our father. We wanted to protect other families. And so it was something we kind of felt compelled to do. And I'm glad I did it. But it wasn't like we put it out in the market and then the dollars started pouring into the bank account the next day. And like anything else, peaks and valleys and starts and stops. And, that upward trajectory has a lot of jagged sort of things going on in the middle of it.
Well, you had an educational barrier with that, right? If there wasn't anything in the market, first of all, you had to educate people that they had a need for it. There should be something in the market. Now there is something in the market. Here's our stuff, buy it. So that's a longer sales cycle. Certainly on the consumer side, we're used to that. In the B2B side of the 6-month, 18-month consultative sale, but for a product, that's a little unusual, don't you think?
It's actually one of the things I spent time over the years talking about is that you never want to create a product that has an educational barrier, because you end up spending all of your time educating, and then somebody comes in once you've spent all your money and time doing that, and they've got the fresh eyes, and then they produce the next version of it. And so at least we had the 2-step with the software and the kit, so we could come in with the software after we educated with the kit. But yeah, we knew that was going to be an issue going in, and it's still an issue. And it's an issue. We sell both B2C and B2B. So you can go on futurefile.com right now. You can purchase one. You should purchase one because it's very important for everyone in your family, and it's less than $100. But we also sell B2B, and it's something that's a great conduit for trusted advisors like financial advisors and insurance brokers and estate planners, and to educate them, even though they see the value for their client, but educating them how to use it in their practice or how to change the way that they do their business is really, really difficult. And so you have to find those people as early adopters who are entrepreneurial and who have that vision, who say, yes, I need to provide extra value to my clients in order to keep them and create that loyalty. And that is also not an easy thing to do. So bottom line, there was nothing about this project that was easy, but it's still very rewarding.
Yeah, I know it has a very special place in your heart.
It does. It does. And, we get tremendous feedback. We actually just yesterday had somebody contact us who had bought one for himself. His brother-in-law's mother, so it was like the wife's brother, and then the mother was having issues. He filled it out for her. She passed away and called back and said, "Oh my God, if I didn't have this, if you hadn't given this to me, I would, like, I don't even know what I would have done." And so then he came back to us about a new one for himself, but, passed along this story. And, every time we do that, I get the hair stand up because it makes me feel so good that we, impacted somebody's life in a time of need and saved them tens of thousands of dollars and hundreds of hours of time and, lessen the burden. So, when we get that feedback, it's all worthwhile, but it's still hard.
Okay. I think that that's super helpful because, we always think everybody has an easier time than we do. And as I heard you say before we started the video, sometimes it's just hard.
It is, and people will say that. It's interesting, as somebody who has attained levels of success in different arenas, and somebody who's blue check on Twitter or whatever that is, that people assume that I don't need help, or like you said, that everything is easy, and because I have an audience that everybody's going to buy everything that I put out. And that's just not the case. Everybody has their own issues and struggles, and just because you have a community, it doesn't mean that they're buying everything that you put out. And sometimes that perception of success actually works against you. So never assume, and always be helpful to people, because it doesn't matter who you are, who they are. Everybody needs help, and it's not a 4-letter word.
Fantastic. Thank you, Carol.
Thanks, Catherine.